Hello and welcome to Autistic Musings. My name is Mackenzie and this is my YouTube channel. I am autistic and I have ADHD, and this channel was created for spreading autism awareness through me sharing my own personal experience, sharing the meaning of autistic terms, and sharing unique solutions to uniquely autistic problems. Now, today we're going to be talking about my experience as an undiagnosed autistic girl in my childhood. Exciting. Very, very exciting. This is my second take. This is take 2. And I'm going to let this one go because I started talking about my childhood in the first take. And it went down a depressing turn. I'm trying to make it slightly less depressing. But I had a lot of trouble as a kid. I was an undiagnosed girl throughout my whole childhood, and I was autistic and I had ADHD, which meant for my presentation specifically, I had a lot of focus issues and concentration issues that tended to keter. I could focus super well on what I was interested in, and that tended to be my special interests: reading, and then eventually psychology, and a lot of freaking reading. A lot of reading. I loved reading. I always had a book, and I was hiding with that book from the world. But anyway, yes, I was a huge nerd. I loved reading, and I tended to fluctuate between, in the public, this mature, shy, awkward girl who shifted spectacularly once we hit a topic of interest, or I got comfortable, or I was talking to an adult. My peers tended to terrify me. I would shift into this blabbermouth that didn't know how to stop talking, even despite, I realize in hindsight, everyone around me giving the signals that we're done talking, I gotta go, unless they actually said I gotta go and we're done. I needed some very direct communication because I didn't pick up any of the cues. None. It took me a lot of trial and error as a kid to realize that certain things meant certain things, and it took forever to figure out. I think I only started to actively experiment in my own behavior, and how it affected other people's behavior when I was around 4th, 5th grade, 8 or 9. And I decided, what I do makes them do something. And when I change what I do, they stop giving me those weird looks, and they start smiling. My beginning of my masking. But as a kid, I tended to exhibit some really classic autistic things. Like I said, shy, awkward, nerd girl in public, but I had an intense urge to talk about my special interests and read near constantly. I didn't want to do anything else. And my social skills were terrible. I tried to be nice on this subject to myself, but I was a little bit of a train wreck in that area. I looked like, I guess, from an outside perspective, like I might have had friends, but I didn't. I wasn't really comfortable. I was overwhelmed, one, by the school environment. I was constantly overwhelmed in public. That's why I turned kind of quiet, and I didn't speak that much until I got comfortable, because I only tended to do that talk until way too long, that long lecture type talk that I tend to do when I was one-on-one with somebody. I rarely did that in a group setting. Group settings tended to be overwhelming to me, which made approaching other kids on the playground when I was a kid completely overwhelming. I would approach groups and be at that little outlier and try to join, but then I would kind of run away and float to another group and try. But 95% of the time, when it was recess or some type of break time, I would run and hide in the bathroom or in a classroom or anywhere but the playground. I ran away from it. I was avoiding that sensory experience. It was too freaking much for me on a regular basis. And I did some very meltdown type things that I look back on it when I was in first grade. I did this thing where I would get really upset. I already had perfectionist tendencies when I was in first grade, looking back. And I'm oops. I kind of threw myself on the ground, whoop, backwards. When I was really upset when I answered questions wrong. I'm I didn't realize that wasn't normal. I mean, I know the other kids kind of looked at me in a strange way at the time, but I just plopped down because I liked the sensation of falling and bawled like a 3-year-old. I'm still baffled that I went undiagnosed for so long, because things I did before the puberty age were pretty obvious and ominously past the puberty age. I was not subtle. I'm still not subtle. I take everything literally, and I say everything as I mean everything that I say kind of literally too. The metaphors and the subtext that I do exhibit in conversation is due to a tremendous amount of work on my part and reading and absorbing and observing and mimicking. I do a lot of mimicking things that I didn't notice until I got my diagnosis, and I was oh, that's what it is? I just thought that's what you did in social situations. I'm laughing now, but I was a pretty stressed out kid, very serious, and super hard time focusing, but I was easily one of the worst perfectionists. And I had no filter with my mouth. So I did end up looking like a very unempathetic, judgmental teenager. Eeks. Because I didn't know I was hurting the person's feelings until they were crying. Ouch. I'm giving myself commentary because things that come out of my mouth sound really bad when I say them out loud. But they were me being a very autistic kid and not having anybody explaining why I was feeling things differently than the other girls. I had this whole thing where I was very confused that the other girls wore certain clothes that looked very pretty. And I love super feminine things, but I am practical, and those outfits cause me deep distress if they're the wrong texture or tightness, that type of thing. I tend to favor loose clothing. I like my weighted vest and very, very comfortable things because if I don't, my clothing tends to cause me distress. But I was very confused in high school how people could wear certain things, and I was genuinely bewildered. And I think I said so. I was I don't know how you can wear that. I was confused. I was confused a lot in conversations. I can barely keep track, and I know some people can barely keep track of me when I'm talking, but I had a combined issue of ADHD. I'm not able to focus right now on your words, and they just turned to gibberish style, along with I'm missing a bunch of subtext, so this conversation isn't making sense to me. So it was an interesting and somewhat traumatizing experience to go undiagnosed for that long. and not realize that the struggle I was having was because I was different from my peers and not because there was something wrong with me. Because that's the only conclusion you can come to after like struggling this much with like basic things, like social interaction. It seems like a basic thing to most of the population, and I attributed many of my struggles to like what I was told were normal things, like some people just get nervous during social interactions, and that type of thing. Like that's how my nervousness and my awkwardness with social interactions were treated, despite that being that I did not understand what was happening and it was distressing, and I found social interaction deeply draining, and I was smart enough to know that there were some ways, not smart, I just knew that when I told the truth about my reasoning behind these struggles, whether they're sensory, social, or just general focus issues and executive dysfunction, everybody attributed it to something else. Like they would say everyone felt that way, or they would give me this look like, that's really strange. I'd get that type of reaction. So I ended up kind of vaguely sidestepping and omitting many things that I did to like cope with the world around me. Like I would get overwhelmed in class and want to leave and want to kind of run away and hide because the classroom was too overwhelming for me at one point, and I just raised my hand and told the teacher that I gotta clear this. I had to go to the bathroom and go and break down in the class in the bathroom. I had a bunch of stuff on my thing. I'm sorry, but that would be my strategy. I would come up with like socially acceptable reasons to leave the area and hide. Hiding was quite frequent with me. I hated loud, noisy environments, and I still do not like them. They're distressing, and they cause me a lot of anxiety, and they drain the life out of me. So I avoid them because, yeah, as a kid I would hide when there was like parties or any family events or school events or any type of party. I would like run off and find a singular activity to do where I was just one party I just like played on the piano. Like I just played this 3 little pattern note for hours and didn't play with any of the kids because it was loud, it was a new place, and I had no desire to leave my little piano and do it over and over. And I really liked the sound, and that was probably me stemming in the corner because I couldn't handle this situation. But I was very much of a sensory avoider. There are situations where I seek out sensory input, but I tended to avoid a lot of things, and I'm very introverted, and I found a lot of stuff overstimulating about group social interactions, and they were deeply overwhelming to me, and they still are on some level. I'm trying to work to cope with that and everything. But as a child, I was kind of like in a constant state of overwhelm with my social interactions, with the sensory environment, and not understanding at all why I seemed to like perpetually be different on different wavelengths than my peers. Like I perpetually felt like, why are we not understanding each other? I don't quite get your perspective at all. I'm confused. Why we're not, I perpetually felt like I was not on the same page as everybody else. And it was distressing as a kid. I wish I knew the reason that I felt so different, and I wish I had support system that helped me in school and helped me socially, because I struggled. I still struggle. But I go to therapy now and I get like support and help, and people are aware of what exactly is the issue with me socially. And we can communicate a bit clearer now and understand what the misunderstandings are, and it just makes communication easier when the fault in communication, we know what it is. Like, you need to be direct with me and not do any subtext because I will miss it, and you need to be straightforward about your feelings with me because I will not catch it, and it's not due to a lack of care for or anything. It's due to I can't pick up the signals. I just won't. By the time I pick up the signals in relationships, it can be too late, and it's been a build-up over time. That's never good. Wow, this felt deeply personal. I hope some of you found this relatable and it helps some of you. And if you liked this video, like it and subscribe to my channel. I'd love to see more of you in the comments section, and share my video. Thank you.